Allow me to welcome you all to this workshop, joint workshop, FES and PASSIA, long, deep-rooted partnership, Friedrich-Ebert-Stiftung and Palestinian Academic Society for the Study of International Affairs in Jerusalem. And it's a pleasure and honor to welcome Hani al-Masri, a scholar, a colleague. I don't know how to put many adjectives to introduce you, but everybody knows I'm following up your writing and contribution for the current political situation in Palestine. Before I give you the floor, I would like to share with my colleague, Dr. Hannes, few remarks about election and democracy and the environment. So I give the floor to my colleague, Hannes, to speak a few words from his perspective, because the topic we are talking about after Cairo talks, but this Cairo talks, it seemed to be ages ago. Many events took place already. The voice is not clear. I hope the voice is clear for Hani.
Thank you, Dr. Mahdi. Allow me to say a few words on behalf of Friedrich-Ebert-Stiftung. We're very happy to gather here and about our partnership with PASSIA, and very happy to have you, Mr. al-Masri, today to share your thoughts on elections. It is no secret that we have been waiting for elections for a long time. And actually, even until very recently, I heard many people be very cautious whether these elections are going to happen or not going to happen. And I agree with you, Dr. Mahdi. Cairo seems long ago, but I think it was a very important pivot point. I think after Cairo, we can say that it's very likely that the elections are actually going to happen, at least PLC elections. And what we are concerned about as a social democratic foundation is that these elections actually become also a proper choice for Palestinians, that there is going to be a debate about issues and not so much about people. This is my biggest worry, that now behind the scenes, talks are going on about power sharing, about who is going to get on which list and what spot in the list to secure power, and it's not going to be about issues and the best ideas for a better Palestine. If there's any way we can contribute to having an election campaign that is fair and free, and that is basically the competition between the best ideas, then we're happy to do this. Let me do a little bit of advertisement for something that we're going to come out with in a couple of weeks. We're going to have a vote application tool which will help voters to decide where the party is positioned and where they are themselves positioned on specific issues. So we're really trying to educate people, first of all, to go vote, and second of all, to get a clear idea what the parties stand for, and then when the lists are come out, what the lists stand for. Because we really hope that this is going to be, that the elections are going to be a choice for Palestinians actually to decide on their future, and not just to renew legitimacy to power structures that we've seen in the past. That's from my side. I'm very excited for this discussion today, and I welcome on behalf of FES all the distinguished guests. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hannes. Hani, as a friend, a very dear friend, I know you are honest and sincere and open, and you can share with us your reflections since Cairo talks. Of course, Cairo has been the core, and it will continue to be the core for Palestinian meeting and consultation from day one. And we shared it a long time ago as independent Palestinian personalities. But now, from your personal perspective and experience, present to us your thoughts and your views on where we are on this election and what lies ahead.
Thank you, Mahdi. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for inviting me to speak at this important roundtable. Thanks to my friend Dr. Mahdi and PASSIA and Friedrich-Ebert-Stiftung. What to expect from the Palestinian elections is a big issue and a very complicated issue. I think we can expect four goals. First of them, find an elected institution after more than 15 years without elections. Second, be ready to resume negotiation on the what's so-called two-state solution. Third, renewal of the legitimacy of the Palestinian Authority. Four, and it is more complicated one, legalization of the split and continuation of the status quo. Why I said that, especially the fourth point, because Fatah and Hamas, on their understanding, which started in Istanbul, they have agreement about concentrate on election and postpone all the fundamental and core issue to find a solution for them after the election. And I think it's a very important and dangerous point. You can't postpone almost everything after the election. For example, postpone agreement about political program, especially Palestine under occupation, and Palestine under split, Palestine under influences from many parties in the region and over the world. Politics is the main issue here. You can't ignore politics. You can't ignore quartet condition. You can't ignore Oslo Accords and its obligations. You can't ignore all things. Only concentrate on renewal the leadership legitimacy. This is the main issue in the previous agreement between Fatah and Hamas, which started in Istanbul and it's approved in Cairo dialogue. Before Cairo, they are reached an agreement. This is what I think, and I have my sources and my evidence to let me think that they are achieve agreements about everything related to election and to postpone everything. Second big issue, important issue, they postponed everything related to the split, even which belong to the rights for individuals, salaries, for employees, for prisoners, release prisoners, the suffering of Gaza. This big issue postponed after election. It is this plan very dangerous. You can't postpone everything. I suggested for them to put another plan and implement it parallel with the preparing for election, which related to end the split. At least put principles how we can end the split. We don't want to legitimize the split. We don't want to manage the split. We want to end the split because it is not easy, and I don't believe that after election we can end the split or the election is the interest of the end of the split. It is, in my opinion, not right. If you don't want to end the split while you are weak without legitimacy, why you want to end the split when you are elected? You are strong. Especially they ignore Gaza in the meeting, in the agreement. They don't speak anything about how we unite the institution between West Bank and Gaza. Our problem, not only differences between programs, it is an easy issue. Our problem is that there's a split inside the institutions. We have two authorities, one in Gaza and the other in West Bank. You can't ignore this issue. This will face you where you try to go. For example, what police will control the election in Gaza. This solved in Cairo statement, but it is not really solved, because what Boris will implement what we decided in Cairo. The police belong to Gaza Authority, or the police belong to the Palestinian Authority. It is not solved, but it shows in the statement that it shows it is solved. It's not right. This big issue. Another issue, agreement about form issue related to the court belong election. They have agreement that we, the factions, Fatah and Hamas mainly, choose judges and send the names to the president. It is not a legal issue. It is issue to belong to the law, not belong to the factions. And we are in the case all the legal institutions not legal. The majority of the Palestinian against these institutions because executive authority control all the local institutions. No independent for this authority at all. You can't ignore this issue. It is very important issue. Another problem in election law. There's a statement mentioned the president of state of Palestine. It is not right, because basic law, which is the reference for the election, mentioned the president of Palestinian Authority. There's a big difference between president for Palestine state or Palestinian Authority, and this can anybody in the future or after 1 week, 2 weeks said this election not legal, because how you can elect a president for Palestinian state while elect a legitimacy council for Palestinian Authority, and the president of Palestinian state belong all the Palestinians, not only on West Bank and Gaza. This very important problem. They ignore it completely. So I think there's 3 scenarios about the future of this plan. First one, and I hope it can be implemented, that the election take place. On what the dates they approved about, but this have only 50%, because there's many obstacles and mines face this issue. For example, Fatah and Hamas don't want to solve anything, only postpone the issue. You hear the last 2 days what happened after the degree about freedom. The 2 of them ignored that there is arrested person for political reason. If the facts is what you said, why you should a degree for freedom? The 2 of them ignore that they don't have any prisoners related to public opinion or political issue. And what we see towards the agreement about gas, when Hamas said we are must be part of this agreement, and the Palestinian Authority said it is a responsibility for the Palestinian Authority, not for parties. Yes, but Hamas control Gaza. It is not a detail. You must discuss this issue with Hamas until we end the split, because you can't implement anything if Hamas don't agree. This is very important يعني issue to be think about. يعني another issue, there's agreement between Fatah and Hamas. Agreement, not like they said in the media, it is one of the options, the first and best option, and they have already agreement about it to run for election with one joint list, Fatah and Hamas, and any party he accept to be part of this list. It is one of the agreement between Fatah and Hamas, and it is very wrong idea, because Fatah and Hamas don't have the same program. If they have the same program, they can form a joint list for election. But why they don't want that? Because they want to avoid the failure in the election. When Hamas and Fatah one list, they guarantee the results, and this prevents the election to be one of the Palestinian hope to change. We need to change. We don't want the status quo to continue. We don't want the same leadership, the same persons. The importance of election, it is an opportunity to change. We need to change because we are under a big crisis and pledge. We are failed in achieve our programs to end occupation and achieve independent state. We are under a very bad government in West Bank and Gaza. So we need a change. It is the importance of the election. If they run with one list, it is a way to prevent any serious change. Another point, they have a previous agreement about it, support Mahmoud Abbas as one candidate for president election. It is also try to deceive the Palestinian. Elections mean competitive elections, many programs, many candidates. When Hamas and Fatah agreed to support Mahmoud Abbas as a candidate for president election, that means no serious election, no serious election. Hamas, why Hamas do that? Because they ignore Hamas control Gaza. Nobody tried to ask Hamas to leave Gaza. Unity means that the authority not under control of Hamas or Fatah. Authority representative people, not parties. When Hamas control Gaza and Fatah and the president control Gaza, the West Bank, we want to end this situation. This what we hope from the election. The agreement, everything stay as it is. Hamas control Gaza, no discussion about military wings, no discussion about anything. Everything after election, everything after election. It is not the right way to end the split or to reach election. And this not mean that one list will pass. There's a big opposition inside Fatah and inside Hamas and inside Palestinian people against one joint list. So they are under huge worry, and they don't know what to do, because agreements depends on these two main points: one joint list, and the president Mahmoud Abbas is the candidates for president election supported from Hamas and Fatah. It is not a small issue; it is a big issue. Third agreement between them to form a unity government without Hamas leader, members of this government, without discussion about the program of this government. You can't postpone the problem and not solve. In 2006, they ignored the fundamental and core issue, and we face the problem after the election. Why we repeat the same mistake? And we must put on the table the importance of acceptance from Hamas about international law and international resolution, not Oslo Accord.
اسمح لي اقطعك استاذ هاني. في مشكله بالصوت الكل عم بشكي منها. بعرفش اذا في كمبيوتر تاني جنبك شغال او شيء، بس في شيء عم بسبب انه الصوت بيجينا متقطع يعني.
Now the voice better or not?
نفس الشيء.
It's okay. Carry on.
No another computer here at all. And it is the first time when we face such a problem. So another obstacles face the election plan.
Hani, excuse me. All these issues you have been talking about are well known to the public, to the international community. The point today, this agreement between Fatah and Hamas has been not accepted by the majority of Fatah or Hamas. There has been a split, there has been argument, there has been confusion.
I want to speak about that.
Go ahead.
The agreement not adopted from Central Committee of Fatah and not from political bureau of Hamas till now. The two delegations with the support from the president is approved by the agreement. So inside Fatah, there's many leaders like Nasser al-Qudwa and Marwan al-Barghouti refuse this agreement. Nasser al-Qudwa said in the workshop in Birzeit University clearly that this agreement is not the Palestinian interest, but it is for individual interest, and he asked for change. So, and Marwan al-Barghouti discussed if he ran to the president election or not, till now not decided. This important factor, if it is happened, it will change the whole game, because Nasser al-Qudwa and Marwan al-Barghouti can have more than 20 to 25% as the last poll show. So Fatah tried to unite its party. Till now, they don't solve this problem, and this problem will put a big obstacle which can prevent the election. So I knew Nasser al-Qudwa directly, and he insists to run, and he is waiting for the decision from Marwan al-Barghouti to run together and with other Palestinians, independent and from Fatah and from all the Palestinian community. This, if it is happened, it will let us achieve a change in the Palestinian political regime. And we saw the positive response about what Nasser al-Qudwa speak in Facebook, in the media, where we met people. They support this kind of ideas and plans because they want to change. And inside Hamas also, there's a big discussion, not appears media like Fatah, but many writers from Hamas wrote articles appear their opposition to that what happened. Most of Hamas writers refused what happened for many reasons, different reasons. And some of Hamas leaders like Mahmoud al-Zahar refused the agreement between Fatah and Hamas, and Musa Abu Marzouk have his own observations. I don't say he refused completely, but he refused many of the point of the agreement as he shown in his interviews and in his statements. So inside Fatah and Hamas, they don't support the agreement, and it is very important point, especially Hamas now under its own elections. And what the results of the election, it is very important to see what will happen in the reconciliation and in the election. This very important. I think this important points which I can say. We can hear from you your comments, your questions, your observations, because it is important for me to hear from you, and it's very useful for me to.
Thank you very much, Hani. We very much appreciate your contribution. The starting point for the discussion: is there a third way among Palestinians, the youth movement, the independent organization, the leftists? Are they organizing themselves with a message to the leadership that this is not an ordinary election? We will not accept it as is. We have to have a fair, clear election. The other thing is the Israeli input today, forcing people not to run, not to campaign, and only to vote, concerning Hamas leadership in Nablus and Ramallah and Hebron as well. Can you elaborate on these 2 points?
Yes, thank you. About the left parties, they started the discussion in the last few days to form one list for all left parties. There's many obstacles, but they want to unite, because if they run with one list, they can double the results. And it is not only wish thinking thoughts, but it is professional issue. In the last election, many of the voters vote for left parties. Don't let them get seats. About 5% of the voters who vote for the left parties not gain for any seats. So if they unite, they can have more than 10 to 15% of the seats, and it will let them a strong player, not like what in the Legitimacy Council, only 3 seats for BFLB and 2 seats for 3 parties and 2 seats for Mustafa al-Barghouti. They can have more than 15 seats if they united. Very important issue, but I can't guarantee that they can reach an agreement. Another point about independent and youth and women, there's today many meetings, everyday meeting, where everywhere dozens of lists plan to run. But our problem is that there's the importance of programs not on the main issue. They concentrate on who is the head of the list, who is in the first seats, and it is a problem. If there's a strong independent participant list, it can gain many seats, because the Palestinian hungry from Fatah and Hamas, hungry because they don't achieve our goals, hungry because their mistakes, hungry because corruption, hungry because many things. But if there's on the election strong list, the Palestinian will vote for Fatah and Hamas, or they don't vote at all. So there's a huge movement, but till now not clear. Some of them related to Salam Fayyad, some of them Ramil Hamdallah, some of them independent list near to Hamas, like the list headed by Hassan Khreshe, Dr. Hassan Khreshe. Till now, not clear enough, but there's a very strong movement and discussion about the election, and it is a positive sign, but till now not clear what he can have in the election.
Thank you very much. The floor is open for discussion. Anybody has remarks or reflection or opinion or a question, please? The floor is open. Hannes.
I ask a question?
Hannes, go ahead.
Okay. My question would be to the letter that Hussein al-Sheikh sent to the State Department in the US that was also signed by Hamas, and that clearly stated a commitment to two states in the borders before 67, etc. So I see a sort of a pragmatic approach by Hamas. What's your take on this?
I wrote an article titled Hamas Change in 2005. Hamas achieved Palestinian state on 1967 border from that time. It's not, but they repeated it every period as it is a new idea. It is not a new idea. It is not the problem. The problem, how to deal with international law and international resolution. We need Hamas to accept that. And with my meeting with Hamas leader and some of the meeting, Dr. Mahdi and other Palestinians with us, we discussed this issue with Hamas leader. They nearly accept that, but and the Palestinian president don't concentrate on that. It is very important to convince Hamas to accept international law and international resolution. And I think they can do that. But if we insist about Hamas to accept quartet condition or Oslo commitments, I think we waste our time. It is very difficult, maybe impossible for Hamas to accept this, to recognize Israel and etc. It is not a way, but we can convince Hamas to accept international law and international resolution. They don't discuss that. And in the letter from Hussein al-Sheikh, there's something not right. What in the election law, which the last version of election law, there's no sentences about all the candidates will accept BLO and etc. They changed this in the last version. So we must be honest to our people and to the others. Hamas against Oslo agreements and its commitments, and will participated in the election, and BFLB the same, and Democratic Front the same, and many independents the same. We think that Oslo lead us to a very bad situation. We are now under deep occupation. The settlements, more than 800,000 settlers in West Bank, and Israeli government against any settlement, against any accept of any of Palestinian rights. So we need an international community, especially Europe, to put pressure on Israel to not only what we want from the Palestinian. For example, Israel in the last days threatened many Hamas leaders and some of Fatah leaders, not only Hamas, to prevent them to run for election. They told them, if you run, we arrest you. It is a big violation to freedom election. how it will be a free election and fair election if every day now, the last few days, every day, the Israeli officers called or invade the houses and said to the Palestinian who from Hamas, you can't run for election. It shows us that Israel not decided to let the election run. They want to interfere in the election to push it the result which it is on the benefit of Israel. It is not a free election. We want election represent the Palestinian people, not what Israel wants. This is very important to avoid to repeat what happened after 2006. Now the Palestinian more reasonable, but we can't accept what Israel wants. Israel don't want us to struggle for our goals. We are under occupation. We are not an independent state. Without resist occupation, we can't achieve peace. Peace can't achieve by negotiation, because negotiation without term of reference not lead us for anything. We tried that for more than 25 years. And what happened, what we see on the ground now. So this very important issue to discuss.
Thank you. Thank you. Morel Asaburg.
Thank you so much. Sorry, I'm struggling. Here I am. Thank you so much, Mahdi. Thank you, Hani, for this input. I wanted to ask if you could tell us in this very sensitive time that we are in currently, what do you expect from the international community, and in particular from the Europeans, who I assume will be giving assistance for the elections and might also send an election observation mission. So what should they be doing at this current point of time? What should they refrain from doing? And what should they be doing after the elections? Thank you.
First of all, and important role, that Europe and the international community must respect the results of the election, in spite of what it is. They can't wait. They must not repeat the same position after 2006 and boycott the government. Without this solving this problem, I think we will face another imperial fighting between the Palestinians. So it is very important to solve this problem. This is the main issue, especially Europe. We hope that Europe can change its position. We saw positive signs about we don't want to repeat the same mistake, and it's not right what we done after 2006. But without change the position, the positive signs without a new position, we hope that will happen as soon as you can. It is very another issue. You must interfere when any party from Palestine or from Israel against free and fair election. When we heard about threatening any one of from Fatah if he run, and they said from high level that they will prevent him by force. It is a free election. You can do that. If we want fair and free election, that means everyone, if he wants to run, he can. If any party refuse one of his members to run, he can deal with. He can ask him to resign, or if they can let him face a party court to decide about that. Not what happen. When we every day hear Israeli prevent Palestinian run for election, you must do something. You must say something, because this if it is continue, it will destroy the election. That means if the results like what Israel want, they let it happen. Third point, the election inside East Jerusalem. Till now, nothing about it. Israel not response if they want to let the election inside East Jerusalem or not. East Jerusalem is the capital of Palestine, not a small issue. Nobody can ignore the election inside East Jerusalem. The Palestinian discuss alternative Israel refused. One of them that international institutions and embassy can let the Palestinian vote inside them. And this one of the alternative. Because if there's no solution for that, maybe can be an excuse to prevent the election, like what happened in 2019 when planning for election stopped because of this issue. So it is very important for me.
Thank you. Thank you. Jerusalem is an issue. It's a center point, and people in Jerusalem are very much interested to share and to be part of it. And the youth movement is very active with many schools of thoughts around us. And nobody is expecting a list today or tomorrow, but the talks is there. Anyway, Munib Yunan, do you have any reflection on Jerusalem?
No, I wanted just to ask on Jerusalem. Thank you very much first, Hani and Dr. Mahdi, on what you have presented. I think the issue of Jerusalem, thank you, Hani, for these ideas. But I want to ask you also about Fatah in Jerusalem. There is, I see quite a lot of disagreement among them. And as if sometimes I feel that the Jerusalem Fatah has another point of view than the Fatah in the West Bank. Do you have any remarks on this issue? Because that's an important issue which is going on the social media. How much should we build on it?
Not only Fatah members, but I think most of citizens in Jerusalem very angry from Palestinian Authority. And this will reflect their angry in the election, because they think, and I think they are right, that the Palestinian Authority don't spend enough money, enough projects caring about Jerusalem. Because of that, in East Jerusalem, the Dahlan group strong more than any part of Jerusalem. Because they are angry from Fatah, and they have a different opinion. Yes, but I don't know very much about this issue, but I hear that individuals think to form a list only the participants from East Jerusalem. Yes, they refuse it immediately, but show us what the situation in Jerusalem. And not only in Jerusalem, there's another idea to form a list from Gaza alone. I hope it will not happen, but some Palestinians think about that. If it happens, it will divide the Palestinian more and more. One list represent Nablus, one list represent Gaza, one list represent Jerusalem. But we are on political election, not local election. So we need common programs to solve the Palestinian big issue, not individual interest and local interest.
I mean, I ask, what is the program? What is the program? I didn't see any program. What is the program of election?
This is our problem. They don't concentrate on programs. We want all the list to concentrate on programs, not about who is the head of the list and who is in second and in the third seat. This is not important. Our priority more than that.
What about, to follow up on this, what about the president's decision to have a special quota for the Christian community, 7 seats in the council, while people are demanding equality and they don't ask for a quota.
Yes, yeah, there's differences between the Palestinians about that, but it is guarantee these seats, but not the maximum. And I think about what in the president decision, he said the minimum, not the maximum. يعني so يعني it at least guarantees these seats, but we need more to let Christian more role in the Legitimacy Council and all the institutions.
Any other question, ladies and gentlemen? Final question, Hani. You know more than anybody else, this is not an ordinary election. Everybody has an input and everybody has conditions and have interests, especially international community, Israel, as well as Fatah and Hamas. What about my concern? The masses of the people, the men in the street, are they interested in it, or they give up on it, or they can do something about it?
I think the ordinary people interested in this election. This appear because 90-30, more than 90-30% register in the registration of the election, and it is show that the Palestinians want change. But how we can reach change, it is depends about a new lists, believe on change, strong new lists. And if Marwan Barghouti and Nasser Qudwa form a strong list, it is a historical opportunity to change the Palestinian situation and Palestinian regime and towards achieve our goals. It is, I bet on that. And on left list and another independent list. But what planned between Fatah and Hamas continue without any competitive list, we see the same leadership and the same policies continue, but in a new situation and new challenges and dangers.
Anyway.
هنس مهدي هنس بده يحكي مش مسموع.
Dr. Mahdi, you're muted.
مش سامع.
دكتور أستاذ هاني, as you were talking, you talked about or you mentioned 3 scenarios for the elections, but you only talked about the first one, giving it about 50%. What are the 2 scenarios? Because we moved on to another.
I think the second scenario clear when I said about obstacles which prevent the election to be continued. The third scenario, it is forming an open list represent. What I mean open, they only put 50 to 60 seats on the list, not closed seats. And Hamas put 40 to 50 seats and not cover all the seats. This formula, more the opposition for it less than joint list, because it let Hamas members vote for Hamas list and Fatah members vote for Fatah list. But you can't guarantee in this formula the results, because Fatah with its allies can have a majority, and other possibility Hamas and its allies can have a majority, because the independent lists, some of them near to Fatah, some of them near to Hamas, not independent, all of them not independent seriously. So we must see this possibility and this scenario. It is a sub scenario related to the first one.
Thank you. Hannes, please.
Yes, I was actually surprised by the announcement of Fatah that they will bar anyone who was previously in the PLC or who was in the Revolutionary Council or who is in the Central Committee to run for elections. So you can read this as a step to renew the faces that will be running for Fatah. What is your take on this?
The problem that in the Revisionary Council meeting, the president said he will prevent any candidates from all these levels of Fatah. That means all the leaders from Fatah can't run for election. If it continued, it means failure for Fatah, because not all of Fatah leaders are corrupt and bad person. He must do something different. He must put some standards. If anyone represents these standards from old guy or young guy from Central Committee or Revisionary Council or another institutions. And this, as I knew, let many of Fatah, majority of members of Fatah institution angry and refuse what they heard from Abu Mazen in this meeting. So I think they will change this position, because if they continue about it, they will lose our failure for Fatah.
So there is no final word from Abu Mazen. If Abu Mazen decides something and the people of Fatah said we are not accepting, they can change it. It means everything is in the process of being changed.
Yes. And they try to say, no, it is not a decision, it is only an idea. And they try to go back.
Threatening. Anyway, any final word, ladies and gentlemen? Can we release Hani? He has any other meeting pending for him.
I have another question actually. How much is Marwan Barghouti and his decisions vis-a-vis the elections, whether to run as particularly the presidential elections, whether to run for presidency or not, are being viewed as a concern among other members or other groups within Fatah? I mean, he definitely he is the biggest name, either as a player or as a spoiler in the elections, and this there seem to be some efforts to alienate him from this process.
Till now, as I knew, and I'm an old friend to Marwan and his group, Marwan has hesitated to take a decision. If Fatah Central Committee formed a list represent in democratic way, he will continue
support.
His
he will support.
He will support. If they don't do that, he will run for president election and support a list headed by Nasser Qudwe. But his decision not taken till now. Inside Fatah, there's now a big debate about Nasser Qudwe and about Marwan al-Barghouti. There's a strong support to them, not like they said in the media and in the official meeting. Inside WhatsApp group belong many of Fatah members and cadres said it is good to support them because they want to change, and we need change, not repeat the same situation again. So we are in a transitional period. يعني till now we don't know the final decision for Marwan al-Barghouti, but Nasser al-Qudwa ask him to decide and try to convince him to decide, because we want a change.
Thank you, Hani Nasri, very much indeed for this wonderful contribution. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for participating. Hope to see you soon in another meeting. Good day to you.
شكرا يعطيكم العافية.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
شكرا
Thank you
كثير.
very much. Bye.